They were looking. Oh, okay.
Hello, my name is Bridget Allen O'Neill, and I'm currently a graduate here at the University of Guelph. I would like to welcome you to the College of Arts and College of Social and Applied Human Sciences Convocation ceremony this afternoon. The University of Guelph is honored by our graduates, and we take great pride in this convocation. I'd like to tell you a little about the proceedings today. The ceremonials used for conferring degrees have evolved over a millennium, and the gowns and hoods represent that ceremony. In general, the gowns for baccalaureate and magisteriate students are black, and the color of the hoods is different for each degree program. The doctorates at the University of Guelph have bright blue gowns, and honorary degrees are red. The University of Guelph crest, which you can see in the curtains behind me, and is shown on the cover of the Convocation program, also represents our specific history. The emblems in the crest show links with the royal city of Guelph through the white stallion above, the convocation to liberal arts through the book, and the connection to the sciences through the astrolabe, and our connection to abundance and agriculture through the cornucopia. The University of Guelph motto, Rerum cognoscere causis, is a quote from Virgil. It is variously translated to be either, happy is the one who is able to ascertain the reason for things, or to know the meaning of things. The procession of people into hall is also influenced by tradition. The piper will herald the start of the procession of the graduands, the students who are coming to graduate today. This will be followed by the arrival of the mace, leading the platform party. The mace is a symbol of the authority of the university and will be carried by the beadle. In medieval universities, a beadle was chosen by the instructor to work as an assistant, while today the beadle is a ceremonial officer of the Senate. Following the beadle and the mace is the Vice Chancellor, members of the administration, and the honorees, fellows of the university, members of the board and Senate, and members of the faculty and staff. The degrees will be conferred in the order that you see in your program. The degrees are separated by categories representing the specific degrees awarded within the college. We will begin with doctorates and magisteriates, followed by baccalaureate degrees. The name reader will present scholars to the Vice Chancellor by degree category. As the name of each student is called, the beadle will place a hood over the recipient's shoulders. The moment will be videoed, and technology willing, there will be a simultaneous live cast of the event to allow family members and friends to watch from the distance. The Vice Chancellor will greet each student at the center of the stage, and a photograph will be taken. We understand the joy and excitement accompanying such an auspicious occasion, but we ask that you hold your applause until after each group of graduates has crossed the stage. There will be an opportunity for a truly thunderous applause later. Once all the degrees are conferred and all the cheers are cheered, the Vice Chancellor will close the ceremony and a recessional will play. Please remain standing until during this recessional until all the platform party is processed out of the hall. Our colleagues from Alumni Affairs are hosting a social media program developed especially for Convocation. Please share your photos, memories, and advice with graduating students by joining us on social media and using the hashtag #GuelphGrad. Finally, may I be the first person to congratulate my fellow graduates on their various successes and offer my congratulations to the family and friends who are here to support them. Welcome to the Convocation at the University of Guelph.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
While you are standing, please consider in your heart for one moment the land on which you stand. Join me to acknowledge and thank the diverse indigenous peoples whose footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Attawandaron, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. Now that you're pretty well all grown and nearly graduated, you'll discover that in pretty well every thorny situation, you're either part of the problem or part of the solution, and you will have to make up your mind. Like the fellow who was a horrible chain smoker, and one day he happens upon an article that explains the medical effects of his addiction. He's traumatized and terrified, just beside himself. He is so scared he can hardly breathe. Right there and then, he makes the resolution and he speaks it out unequivocally. He clears his throat and he says, from now on, I will never, ever read another article about smoking again. So this fellow decided to be part of the problem. Charles Dickens, in his book, A Tale of Two Cities, writes, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. For some cosmic reason, these two extremes seem to come together throughout history. Whenever the world's population is vulnerable to what seems to be a clash of cultures, wanton violence, and unspeakable horrors, it gives birth to a strange bedfellow, an overwhelming sense of compassion for one another and transcendent feeling that all of humankind is one. Hardly a week goes by when we open the newspapers and are shocked by incomprehensible pain and suffering. Our heart opens and we feel so deeply for our fellow man and woman. We can't sit back and do nothing. So perhaps we post on Facebook, attend a rally, or maybe even join a political group, feeling that we've done our part. Allow me to share two game-changing secrets. Firstly, the most powerful way to transform others is to transform yourself. Parents, educators, and mentors who are well experienced in their craft know this too well. And now you know it too. Secret number two, never underestimate the immense power of a single act of kindness and compassion. Every seemingly random expression of love and generosity has a resounding impact that reverberates around the world. It's not just a slow ripple effect, it's an avalanche effect as people feel empowered and heartened when they become beneficiaries of someone's attention and care. So now you have it. You spent time in the incubator of the University of Guelph, taking in the wonderful instructions and staff, taking in what the wonderful instructors and staff have conveyed to you. Now that you're about to graduate, it's time to pay it forward. It sounds like a trite phrase and platitude, but it's absolutely true. You and you and you and me can change the world. How? With random acts of courage, kindness, unconditional love. noticing someone else's misfortune, and instead of just shaking your head, you lend out your hand. That hand can and will join with other hands throughout the world to make this world a better place. Mazel tov, thank you, you may be seated.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to officially open this 2017 University of Guelph Convocation ceremony and welcome everyone here. President Vaccarino, members of the board, honorary fellows, faculty, staff, family, and friends of the graduates. Today, as we celebrate the achievements of our graduating students, I'd like to offer particular welcome to our convocation speaker, Robin Roth, who will be introduced to you shortly. My name is Martha Billis, and I have the honor of serving as Chancellor here at the University of Guelph. And what an honor it is to be here today, back at the university, my alma mater. I think back to when I was in your shoes, proud to be a Mac Institute graduate and anxious to take on the next challenge around the corner. Problem is, we do not always know what is coming or how we're going to get there. Today, I want to instill in you a belief my dean, Margaret McCready, instilled in me years ago. She was full of advice, but most often said, "Remember, ladies, you are Mac girls, and Mac girls can do anything." And she was right. I stand before you today to proudly and confidently tell you that the education I received here gave me the wherewithal to go out and strive beyond what I thought I was capable of. Since the days of its founding colleges, the University of Guelph has been a leader in practical education focused on the whole person. The university has fostered an environment that encourages its community of students to aim higher, to make things better, to be more productive, to turn preconceived notions on their head, to make a difference, to improve life. My education opened up doors and offered windows on the world I could not have imagined. Half a century later, those things are still happening here at this fantastic institution. Graduands, your windows are waiting. It's your turn. Your turn to make a difference and to improve life for ourselves and for others. I know you can do it because you are, after all, a University of Guelph graduate, and you can do anything. Good luck to you all. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Franco Vaccarino, and I have the honor and the great privilege of serving as the president and vice chancellor of this great university. Well, graduates, this is your big day. You've worked hard, you've persevered, and you've made it. Well done and well deserved. Think fast. Think fast. We've all heard that expression. You don't often hear anyone tell you to think slow. Think slow. My main message today is twofold: think fast and think slow. As a psychologist, I'm interested in cognitive sciences and neuroscience, and speaking as well as a parent of university-age children, I believe that fundamentally your minds are different from those of your parents' generation. We see how you absorb information, how you interact with and through information technology. Young people are very, very, very good at coping with lots of information and shifting their attention accordingly. Basically, your brains have adapted to a very fast-paced world. Today, we are navigating a river of knowledge, one that's growing larger and flowing faster all the time. New ideas are coming at us at an unprecedented pace. New innovations, new ways to connect the dots, new ways to understand this world. We need to process more and more information in the same amount of time. We need to think faster. You might call that fast thinking, reactive thinking. Reactive thinking is a kind of tactical thinking. It's what helps a driver negotiate the twists and turns of the road from moment to moment. But of course, there's another kind of thinking. Reflective thinking, or slow thinking. Takes a more strategic view, a broader view. Not that I'm suggesting that you think more slowly in the literal sense. Really what I'm talking about is a different kind of thought, different way of thinking, almost like a different channel than tactical or reactive. In our fast-paced world, universities are increasingly important places for both kinds of thinking. Reactive thinking or fast thinking that addresses the now, and there's plenty going on in the now. But also reflective thinking that rises above the here and now to take the long view, the broader view, and consider the broader context, to consider tomorrow or even the day after. As students at the University of Guelph, you've benefited during the past few years of from an environment that's challenged your thinking, an environment that nurtures freedom of thought as well as expression and inquiry, an environment that promotes and supports openness to new ideas, one that invites varied perspectives on a problem or on an opportunity. We've tried to encourage you to exercise both reactive as well as reflective thinking. We've stressed the kind of thinking that enables you not just to provide the right answers, but really also to ask the right questions. We've looked to nurture thinking that is disciplined and thinking that is interdisciplinary, that draws upon diverse experiences, diverse points of view. That kind of thinking, I have to say, is even more important in a world where the challenges and the opportunities we face are larger and more complex than they've ever been. Now, big problems and big opportunities need lots of minds thinking together on solutions. Not just like minds, but unlike minds. Minds from varied backgrounds, from different perspectives. You know, there's a proverb that goes something like this. If you want to go fast, I should say. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You're about to explore and discover the next phase of your lives, including, I hope, finding ways to improve life for others around you and the wider world. So go together, think fast, and think slow. Thank you very much.
I am pleased to invite Robin Roth, Associate Professor in Human Environment Geography, to now give the convocation address. Robin?
Thank you. Welcome, graduates, families, friends, and esteemed colleagues on the platform. When Dean Chapman asked me to deliver one of these convocation addresses, I was immediately humbled by her trust in me, and I started to think about what it is that I could say that would demonstrate to you her wisdom for asking me, certainly, as well as, of course, leave you with something at least a little bit memorable. Because quite frankly, about 20 years to the day, I sat about where you were, and I don't remember much about the address. So while that might have let me off the hook, what it actually did was make me realize the importance of my task. So I started to get a bit stressed out. And like most people when they're a bit stressed out, I had a bit of a panic and I Googled it. I Googled best convocation addresses ever. This was a really bad decision on my part. So Will Ferrell, about a month ago, sang part of his. I'm not going to do that. You will be very relieved to know. But Google did give me a few ideas. So these are the things that convocation addresses are supposed to say. They're supposed to tell you to give back to your community. Be sure to thank your parents. That school was the easy part, and the hard work begins now. To tell you to take chances and follow your dreams. Say something like, you will probably fail and fail again and fail fantastically, but don't worry about it because that's what learning is all about. And of course, be bold. I'm not supposed to mention student debt because that's not funny. All of these things are true. But my personal favorite, and the one I want to spend a couple of minutes on, goes something like, the world is a mess, go forth, take your degree, and save it, right? So geopolitical challenges, climate change, the contradictions of poverty amongst plenty, global leadership vacuums, rising rates of addiction, reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous Canadians, and biodiversity conservation, and the list could go on. All of these bear at least some markers of what can be referred to as wicked problems. These are problems that the longer you wait, the worse they get, for which solutions are not correct or incorrect, but rather better or worse, for which there's a high degree of uncertainty. We don't really know the drivers or the outcomes all that well, and for stakeholders and right holders have different worldviews and different ways of understanding the problem. So it's easy to feel helpless and overwhelmed in the face of these kinds of challenges. For the most part, I don't. Most days, I feel quite hopeful. And part of the reason for that is in front of me. I came to Guelph after years at another institution, in part because the Guelph grad, especially I'll say the Guelph grad from Seesaws, is one who gains solid, rigorous understanding of their chosen subject area, who understands its connection to the world outside the classroom, and who seeks to leverage these new skills and knowledge to make their community better in some way. And I wanted to be a part of that. Change lives and improving life, right? So the world's a mess. Go forth, save it. 20 years ago, sitting where you are today, I would have embraced this idea, both that the world is a mess and that I needed to save it. I'm going to refine that statement. The world is not a mess. My office is a mess. And while I could argue that whoever declares it a mess simply doesn't recognize the logic behind its organization, I would likely lose that debate. My office is a mess, but a mess can be cleaned up with a bit of will. It's a relatively simple solution to a mess. Clean it up. But the world is not a mess. It's complicated, wickedly complicated, increasingly wickedly complicated. So it appears a mess. It is because we don't have the right framework to understand it. And while university can help with that, it is too large a task for 4 years, 5, 6, 7 years, no matter how intensive. And the reason for that is that there isn't one framework. There can't be just one framework. One of the most important things I think you have learned in the past few years is that you can't save the world alone. I can't save the world alone. It requires company. It requires more than one person, more than one discipline, more than one type of knowledge, and more than one set of experiences. So one of the most important things I'm learning when I go do research in places far from my comfort zone and with people whose experiences and upbringings are distinctly different from my own is that I am learning how to be an ally. So this is a term I became more aware of since beginning collaborative work with a few First Nations communities in Canada, though it's also used by a lot of social movements aimed at addressing the root causes of marginalization. It's used to denote someone who is reflexive about their own privilege and who works in solidarity with others to dismantle various kinds of oppression. But I think the idea can be applied more broadly. I don't want to water down its core meaning, but rather extend it and suggest that when addressing really difficult and complicated social and environmental problems, wicked problems, we all need to learn how to be a good ally. I'm going to tell you a few short stories about my research to give you a sense of what I mean. So when I first started conducting research in rural Thailand about 15 or so years ago, I was doing a livelihood study, so trying to figure out what people do and where and why. And so one of the things I was curious about, amongst a lot of other things, was the division of labor between men and women in the village I was working in. So I saw women waking up early, really early, collecting firewood, carrying firewood, stacking firewood, creating, building fires to make breakfast with. So I assumed that, firewood was women's responsibility. But when I asked, I was told that it was a responsibility equally shared between men and women. And my first reaction was like, yeah, I think they're just trying to make it seem as though they're equal, but really, they're not really not telling me the truth, so I hung around a bit longer. So as time went on, I began to understand things differently. Turns out that when women gather firewood every day, so what I was seeing was true, men gathered and transported firewood from newly cleared agricultural fields. So they collected as much firewood in 2 weeks as women did throughout the year. Firewood was seen as a shared responsibility. So it's this story, amongst many others, during that year and a half, when I began to learn how my expertise has limits, how to ask better questions, and how to recognize that my framework misses things and needs to evolve. Fast forward many years, and I've invited representatives from 10 First Nations and Inuit communities to Edmonton in advance of a Society of Conservation Biology meeting. The intent here was to have community members speak directly to conservation biologists about how best to deal with conservation issues on traditional territory. I had an agenda for our first day together. It was an hour of introductions, and then we're going to get brainstorming on experiences and things that work and things that don't. Well, we didn't get past introductions. It was like 8 hours of introductions. I learned 2 very valuable lessons about being an ally at that meeting. The first is to be a good listener. So I put aside my agenda of what I thought we were supposed to be talking about, and I opened my ears to things that were actually really hard to hear at first. I heard stories that questioned the expertise and thus the authority of academics and scientists. I heard stories that redefined conservation. This is what I study. Redefined conservation not as something that protects nature from humans, but rather something that helps repair the relationship between humans and nature. And I heard stories about being overwhelmed by demands for Indigenous expertise and perspectives by people like me saying, hey, tell me your opinion. The second thing I learned is the importance of relationships, about how important it is to build and maintain relationships and show respect for other people's experiences, knowledge, and understanding. And now, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to head out to Southern Alberta to meet with members of the Blackfoot Confederacy. We're going to talk about how best to combine Blackfoot knowledge and conventional social science knowledge to collaborate together on a project called the INI Initiative, the vision of which is to restore free-roaming bison into Blackfoot traditional territory. I'm certain I will learn more lessons about how to be an ally there. So success in these fora is not about applying my expertise to solve the problem, to clean up the mess, but rather about listening, allowing my ideas to be challenged, trying to understand the situations and knowledge of others, develop genuine relationships, and then collectively build a framework that allows us to work together towards shared conservation and social justice objectives. So when you get your degree, in a matter of minutes, have tremendous pride in what you've learned and what you've accomplished, but also recognize the limits of your knowledge and experience. Remember to reach out to others with different understandings and perceptions. Remember to listen, and then move forward collaboratively and work together towards a shared future. Remember to be a good ally. You'll be happy to know that a BA from CSAWS means you're well on your way to having the skills in collaboration, cooperation, and communication necessary to help tackle wicked problems. These are things you will have learned in all those nasty group assignments that you've had to do over the last few years. There is a method to our madness. But be prepared to continue to hone those skills and develop them in ways that allow you to bring the best of what you know, of who you are and what you care about to all of your future challenges. Best of luck. The University of Guelph is with you all the way.
Thank you, Dr. Roth, for those inspiring words. Good afternoon. I'm Charlotte Yates. I'm the Vice President Academic and Provost of the University of Guelph. And I have the great honor of helping you in the next step towards your graduation. So if I could ask you, will the graduating class please rise? Madam Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars who have fulfilled the statutory requirements laid down by the Senate of the University of Guelph, that they may be admitted to their various and several degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in the University of Guelph, I hereby accept you for admission to your various and several degrees, with all the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto.
Will the graduating class please sit?
Good afternoon, graduates and proud family and friends of the graduates. My name is Byron Sheldrick, and I have the honor of being the Associate Dean Academic for the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences. Now, I'm sure everyone in the room is excited. The graduates are excited. Family and friends perhaps are even more excited today. And I'm sure everyone is looking forward to seeing their graduate cross the stage and be greeted by the president of the university and receive their Convocation Award. Now, you may, of course, want to express that excitement in some audible fashion. Hoots, hollers, cheers, sighs of relief are all welcome and indeed encouraged. But we would ask the general audience to hold your collective applause until the end of each class of graduates, and I'll give you a signal when that is. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree Bachelor of Arts honors. Bridget Grace Allen O'Neill with distinction. Peter Christopher Jonathan Anglin. Sylvina Maria Antunes. Krista Michelle Armstrong with distinction. Allison Christine Baker. Alexandra Barrell. Christina G. Barnard. Katrin Emma Bell with distinction. Angela Baronia. Ainsley Lena Sharon Black with distinction. Melanie Francesca Blue with distinction. Heather Margaret Book. Michaela Marie Bradstreet. Shelja Brambat. Elizabeth Jocelyn Ann Brown. Jacinda Joanne Rose Burns with distinction. Jocelyn Marie Cameron with distinction. Erin Tilly Campbell. Tara Lynn Sherry Carter with distinction. Thank you, Sierra Mary Carreri. Megan Adele Carruthers. Victoria Sermonova with distinction. Rebecca Clayton with distinction. Madeline Athena Camiso. Kevin David Cook. Congratulations. Natasha Tara Coos with distinction. Kaylee Ann Cotterill. Melissa Dawn Cobra. Rachel Sherry Lieberman Kosniak. I had it right until the last moment, with distinction. Catherine Irene Dempsey, with distinction. Alicia, thank you, Alicia. Alicia Deppner, with distinction. Got it, thank you, Brianna. Brianna Danielle Deputat. Laura Abigail Douglas, with distinction. Kyle David Dundas, with distinction. Leanna Beverly Feltham. Lucas Ferguson. Rebecca Finkelstein, with distinction. Brianna Taryn Fleming. Erica Jocelyn Foley. Rebecca Emily Forbes. Jamie Kale Furman. Abigail Blythe Gallagher. Jennifer Sue Galveo, with distinction. Anne Elizabeth Garrett. Nathaniel Genest. Sandra Michelle Green, with distinction. Dylan Jack Grieve. Tessa Marie Nicole Grossi. Laura Catherine Gutauskas, with distinction. Bailey Ann Hale. Lucas Alexander Hayes. I like those. Lindsay Hunter. Rukhsar Mehboob Jaffer, with distinction. Sarah Rose Jubas Bernstein, with distinction. Okay. Divneet Kaur. Thank you. Samantha Curtin. Melanie Knapp, with distinction. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah Ray Kotala, with distinction. Thank you, Dana. Dana Elizabeth Kondo, with distinction. Amy Alyssa Leiter. How are you? Megan Grace Litchfield, with distinction. Thank you. Nicholas Douglas Lawson. Carly Adriana MacArthur. Robert Archibald Mackenzie III, with distinction. We have to wait a minute. Jessica Erin Mackerel. Amanda Nicole Manderson, with distinction. Michael Joseph March. Thank you, Emily. Emily Marcus, with distinction. Mascarenas, Preeti. Okay, got it. Thank you, Crystal. Crystal Preeti Mascarenas, with distinction. Taylor Rose McLaughlin. Thank you, William. William Kyle Milson with distinction. Kelsey Ann Morgan with distinction. Sarah Michelle Nizon with distinction. Jessica, thank you, Jessica. Jessica Ng. Mackenzie Brock Nickel. Catherine Brittany Olenek. Abby Lynn Orr. Megan Kelly Paler with distinction. Robin Raphael Petrie. Olivia Nancy Phillips. Victoria Pike with distinction. Chloe Louise Preston with distinction. Spencer Thomas Ralston with distinction. Emily Elizabeth Richard. Brittany Heather Rowe Bradley. Thank you, Shalina Ruda. Jean Samaha with distinction. Thank you, Brittany. Congratulations. Brittany Marie Schaefer with distinction. Adam Mackenzie Schmidt. Heather Ann Scott. Emma Louise Sharp. Philip Bradley Shepard. Amanda Jane Stemplowski with distinction. Ezra Jacob Strauss. Vanessa Tan. Maggie Susan Taylor. Bazell Tenson. Got it. Thank you, Charlotte. Charlotte Jean Bazell Tenson. Serena Catherine Thompson, with distinction. Nicola Todd, with distinction. Amina Unia. Daniel Frank Erbschuss. Thank you. James Edward Vaklavek. Lauren Van Veen. Taylor Alexandra Virchuluk. Thank you. Rohini Marissa Visvanantha. Aaron Noel Williamson. Michaela Joreen Worrell Rogers. Sasha Zanelli. Okay, thank you, Sasha. Sasha Zanelli. Okay, you want the middle name. Daniel Arthur Zuckerman. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating this exceptional group of scholars. Madam Chancellor, Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree Bachelor of Arts, General. Scott William Mitchell Battori. Samuel Robert Bissett. Bradley Breeden. Emily Falavolita. Thank you. Shirley E. Ekanyan. Michaela James. Danielle Lauren Kelly. Shannon Lawless. Kate Elizabeth Lewis. Thank you. Kara Rebecca Lumger. Michaela Elizabeth Ray McDonald. Thank you, Colin Michael Marotta. Brenna Mariko Osaka. Emily Poirier. Leah Robinson. Tristan Helena Roos. Carly Edna Elizabeth Sondercook. Lee Henning Schreier. Erica Lillian Christine Simpson. Zoe Taylor. Connor Young. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating this group of scholars.
Madam Chancellor, I would ask you to confer the various and several degrees on the graduands listed in the program, but unable to be present at this ceremony.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and in the University of Guelph, I confer the various and several degrees in absentia on the graduands not present.
Well, graduates, you did it. Congratulations. Terrific job. Well, let me take this opportunity, graduates, to welcome all of you now to the Griffin alumni family. And this is, of course, a growing family. This week, more than 3,400 new graduates are joining that family. The University of Guelph alumni now number more than 125,000 graduates around the world. And as you can imagine, we're all very proud of your accomplishments here at the University of Guelph and very much look forward to seeing how the foundations that you've developed here as students will continue to support you in the years to come in your own futures. We want to celebrate your achievements, your successes, and really do hope that you'll all stay in touch. And remember that you're always, always welcome here. Graduates, I'm sure you've made many memories here at the university, including today's ceremony. And I'd suggest that you remember this as well. You're a student for a short time, but you're a Griffin forever. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Now that concludes the formal part of our convocation ceremony. The College Dean will be hosting a reception for all graduates and their guests in Creelman Hall after the ceremony here, and of course right next door. And this is an opportunity to congratulate the graduates, mingle a little bit, and we do hope that you can attend. And now the final word is from our Chancellor.
Convocation is dismissed.
Congratulations, everyone. We know you're going to go out and do great things. We hope you'll come back and visit often and share what you're up to. I'm going to ask you for a little bit of help in making sure that we can prepare the hall for the next group of eager families who are waiting for their students to graduate. One is we're going to ask you to exit through the side doors with the students first and the families following. And then we hope that you spend some good quality time out there, get lots of photos to commemorate this day. And when you're done, make sure that you return your gowns and hoods to the tent so the next group can look as good as you. And one last thing, turn it up this time. You ready? Congratulations. Woo! Now you're ready to go.